In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble this first day or last day of school sign. So I've opened the file within the Glowforge app, and then I'm setting up all of my settings. So I want to engrave the things that are engraved, which you see there in pink. The last day of I'm going to ignore, and then everything else we're going to cut. It is very important that you do not want to move the file in the Glowforge app. Open it, leave it where it is. You want to move your material. So you saw me move it there on my whiteboard. And then we're going to wait for the Glowforge camera to scan it. And then I have too much space there, not enough space on the bottom. So I'm going to move it once again. And we'll let the Glowforge scan. And I'm going to go ahead and set focus down here so I can see how that lines up. And when it's done focusing and I zoom in, I see that's way too close. I know that when I cut like that on my Glowforge, that it's actually going to go off the edge. So I'm going to move it down ever so slightly and then just repeat again. And that looks pretty good. We'll set focus just to be sure. And as you might be able to tell, it's slightly crooked, kind of a little bit diagonal, so I did go back and fix it after this. And after one final slight adjustment, we're ready to send it to the laser. Now it did take an hour and a half to cut.
One eternity later.
Alright, once our print has finished the first round, what we're going to do is flip over this first day of banner. And then we need to go ahead and delete the file that's there in the Glowforge and then load up the file that says second. And then you see there, everything is the same except for last day of, and I left everything there so we can tell that it's still aligned and it still has everything. But we want to change everything to ignore except for last day of, and we'll go ahead and have that set to engrave. And we'll send that back to the laser. And once it's done, we can go ahead and remove everything. So I'm going to take out my pins. Take out my scrap board. Set that aside because I'll need that here in just a second. And we'll take out our pieces. And I'm going to put my scrap board back in. But I'm going to rotate it around 180 degrees so the usable side is now at the bottom, and then pin that down and we're ready to go back into the Glowforge app. Delete what's here, and now we're going to open up the file that says third. Now this time we can move these around, so I'm going to move that, try to fit that into the scrap piece here. Set focus so I can see exactly where that's going to go. Now, if you're finding this isn't fitting on your board, you can scale everything down slightly, and that'll help everything to fit. Or you have the option of not using the border, and then you don't even have to worry about it. You can just delete the border pieces. But this placement looks pretty good to me. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in just to be sure, but I think that is going to work. So we'll go ahead and send that to the laser. Watching it, and yep, really close, but it did work very nicely. Now on the first day of, you see those pieces that are there in the middle. You might be tempted to use Gorilla Tape. Do not do it. The Gorilla Tape can and will mess up your whiteboard. So I learned that the hard way on the last one that I made. You want to use these plastic razor blades. Now also the engrave here looks pretty good as is, but I like to paint mine, so I use this white acrylic paint, and I just take some, put it on a scrap piece of cardboard with a nice straight edge, and I'm just going to use that to wipe the paint into the engrave, clean off the excess, and immediately before the paint dries, go ahead and clean off all of your excess paint. Be sure to get the sides really well, and I used a baby wipe and alternated a baby wipe and a paper towel and just kept going back and forth. You could use an alcohol wipe or whatever it is that you have, but after a couple of minutes you see that it's nice and clean, and there's my engrave for both sides. Now here you see I'm starting to weed the masking off, and we'll see that plastic razor blade in action right here. So it makes short work of the masking. Links for all of these items are in the description. Once all of it is masked, we're going to take our border pieces. I did a quick test fit, and it looks like it's going to work nicely. Now you can super glue the border on, but I like to use this 3M. So I took strips, half-inch strips of this 3M tape, and put it all around, and then stuck on the border pieces. I'm sticking on the last one right now. Starting to get that lined up, and once it's lined up all the way, we'll press it down. Now I like to use blue tape, some low-tack tape on either side. Now you'll see why in just a second. We put it on the sides, but we'll put in our first day of, or last day depending on when you're using this sign. And you can see the reason we put the tape on the sides is so it does not touch our engraving, so it's just less of a chance of it getting messed up. Now here's a view of the final sign and the completed version, first and last day of school.